Hello,
Hi,
Katrina.
hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh, good.
Hope you are.
Doing all right. Yeah, nice
Where
to
are
meet you.
you? Where are you today?
I'm in my home office, so I have a little divider behind me.
And that's in Omaha, right?
That is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Uh, I pass through there every now and then. Uh,
Yeah.
Driving between North Carolina and Wyoming,
Okay.
so I'm familiar with Nebraska. I've covered a lot of different routes through Nebraska over the years, and
Okay.
it's always interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hello.
Well, it's good to meet you. And Jennifer introduced us, which is I think is great. And I met her a little over a year ago, and we started talking and had her. I've had her on a couple of times, and in our conversations, I decided, well, I want to meet more people in the opera world.
Gotcha.
And I'm not very well informed, but I know what I like to listen to, but I'm not really well informed. So maybe you can help me know a little bit better about what that world is like today. Because I know it's a really big thing, back in the 19th century and early 20th century. I mean, you think about people like Puccini and Wagner, in particular, and Verdi, and you know,
Mhm.
they were the kings of the planet, so to speak.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think that we have it's still kind of a big deal now, but certainly not the music everyone is turning to, but we still have a lot of new opera being created and um there's a lot of new music on the horizon, and actually the United States is at the forefront of that kind of, I don't know, revolution of new opera mu music at this time. So that's been pretty exciting. Yeah.
Well, why don't we introduce you to our audience, and then we can talk about that because that's really interesting to me. We're seeing not where opera has been, but where it's going, and so tell us who you are and what your role in the opera world is.
Yeah, I am Katrina Thurman, and I'm the Director of Artistic Administration at Opera Omaha. I'm also the General and Artistic Director of East Passyunk Opera Project, or ePOP for short, in Philadelphia. And I'm an operatic soprano as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, if I'd known that, maybe I would have had you sing for us.
And now I'm not warmed up.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. Um, I'm in
You
the
can
I'm in
find
the
things online, though.
I'm in the choir at church, so I understand about being warmed up and we have professional singers in our choir, so it's far above my ability, but I enjoy being a part of that. So so how long have you? I guess you've been in the world of opera since some time in your childhood. I would assume.
Not quite childhood. So are you wanting to know my background in
Yeah,
music?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I grew up in Oklahoma, and my introduction to music was more from my mom's side of the family. A lot of kind of music influenced by church, by the Baptist church. Also, old country music. Our family on that side would get together, and my grandmother she played piano and organ, but by ear. She was never formally trained, and she always played for her church. Um,
Where
a couple
where where in Oklahoma?
The Oklahoma City area.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I lived in Altus for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been to Altus, but I know about Altus.
The road doesn't go past there.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it doesn't. I feel like I knew someone from Altus maybe in undergrad because I went to undergrad at Oklahoma City University, and
Mhm.
it feels like I knew someone. Um, but yeah, just there's kind of I have a musical family, but no one that I know was formally trained. Aunts and uncles, a couple of them would play guitar, also just self-trained, and we would get together and sing hymns or old country songs. And as I started to get a little older, I was like a tween around, sixth grade or so. My family started to notice that I had a pretty good voice, and my little friends started to notice that too. And I got inspired to get into choir, and I hadn't seen an opera at all. I didn't know what opera was outside of what you might see in a Bugs Bunny cartoon or hear on a commercial. And I just,
Yeah.
it was so foreign. The best I could have imagined is opera is the big ladies with the horns that sing. That's it.
That's right.
Um, but I kind of followed the musical path and started taking voice lessons in high school and ended up deciding that I wanted to do high school musicals for a career because that seemed possible. And so I became a musical theater major in college. And I, like I said, went to Oklahoma City University, which is the same place that Kristen Chenoweth went through school a
Mhm.
handful of years ahead of me. And Kelly O'Hara and I were roommates at one point. Um, but once I got in there and started studying voice, with the recommendation of the faculty, I switched to vocal performance, which is more the classical focus in singing. So that gave me the ability to both one day do musical theater if I wanted, but also to have a classical training where I could move into opera. And then I just kept following that path. I finished undergrad with a vocal performance major and then went to grad school at Cincinnati Conservatory to pursue a master's in vocal performance. And then I was kind of hooked on opera. But I will say that the first opera I ever saw was my sophomore year of undergrad, and it was a university production. So it was not something that I was very familiar with growing up at all. And
Mhm.
classical music really wasn't built in for me. It was something that I discovered later and then latched onto.
Earlier this week, I was watching. I have a subscription to the Berlin Philharmonic channel, and I was watching them. We're watching a production of Mahler's Ninth Symphony,
Okay.
the what do they call the Symphony of a Thousand or something like that, and it's filled with all these voices. And I'm wondering what is the relationship between that kind of choral production and an opera, other than the fact that one doesn't have a story and the other has a story. But how do operatic singers see the difference between those two types of productions or performances?
I mean, in terms of preparation for an operatic singer, there are differences in preparation. Obviously, you're not going to have to prepare dramatically the character. I mean, depending on the oratorio or the concert piece, there may not be a huge amount of dramatic background or something that you're going to need to. I mean, there's just some pieces that you have a bit. What am I trying to say? Like Handel's Messiah, you're getting up to sing that, and maybe, obviously there is a backstory that you're singing about, but there's not a huge amount of work to do on the character
Hmm.
that you're singing. You're basically sending a message, and it's a few lines of text. Um, Whereas with an operatic production, you're really preparing yourself to embody a character, a role. Um, and so there are those differences, but as far as vocal preparation, there's not much different. There's still, a singer will want to put in just as much work on a concert performance as they do on operatic performance in terms of vocal style, how you sound, the language, the musical intent of the composer, etc. So there's plenty of prep on that side for both.
Do you move between the two? I mean, is that common for
Oh yeah.
um, vocal performance? Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I'm really ignorant about some of the specifics. I just know what I like to listen to, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's probably true for a lot of people. And they
Yeah. I think so too. And I mean, and I think that's okay. Like, if someone knows those facts, that's great. If they don't and they happen to learn them, wonderful. The most important thing is that people are coming to the music and experiencing it, and hopefully it's leaving an impression on you. And that's the main point. But yeah, it is true that a lot of like singers who have trained classically, vocal singers, they usually, and if they do opera, they often also do concert music or oratorios like the Mahler, like Handel's Messiah, like Mendelssohn, etc. And they'll have hopefully have those opportunities to go and sing with the symphony and just stand and sing in concert, and also go and do some scene where they're murdered, dying on stage, whatever it is.
What would that be? Tosca, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, she stabs someone else and then she jumps off a building,
that's
but you know,
yeah.
um, and not all. I've had a lot of folks ask me, you know, or just assume that opera is all dramatic and someone always dies. And there's plenty of operas where people die, but there are comedies as well, or just storytelling that doesn't include, death and destruction. There's a lot of great comedies, as a matter of fact. We just did one of the most famous comedies, Barbara of Seville, here in Omaha this past fall. And it's always fun to return to that piece. I think it's as popular as it is because I've worked on it in a variety of ways over the years, and I never get tired of it. I think I will get tired of it, and then I don't. It's just really great music and a fun story, and yeah, yeah.
How many productions do you do in a year?
Here at Opera Omaha, it's kind of fluctuates. Before I started here, it was typically three big productions at our big lovely theater here, which is the Orpheum Theater. Seats are about 2,500 plus. Um, and it would be, kind of spaced through the year, three big shows, and then some community engagement events. Now we are expanding how many performances we're doing by also shifting venues. So we're still performing at the beautiful Orpheum Theater and having that big grand opera experience. We're also adding other venues where we can do a family opera series at some smaller theaters in town and do operas that are, well, like the title insinuates, that are great for kids and their parents or their guardians. And then we're also doing some kind of one-off night concert experiences. So the answer to you, the different productions we're doing, for example, in this season we're currently in, I have to go back and count. We kicked off our season with a free outdoor concert for the community. Um, that's one. Then we did The Barber of Seville. We are currently rehearsing Carlisle Floyd's Susanna, which is the most famous American opera. Following that, let's see if I can remember our calendar. Following that, we're moving into presenting the English concert, doing Handel's Hercules. So the English concert is the preeminent Baroque orchestra in the world. We're bringing them and their production to us, and we'll put them up. We'll present them, I should say. Um, Oh, then we're going to join forces with the symphony and perform in their space to do Bartok's opera Bluebeard's Castle
Mhm.
in concert style, but with projections to help kind of elevate the storytelling. And then lastly, we will have our family opera series, Opera, which is Unshakable. It's a newer opera by a living composer named Joe Illick. And that will be performed actually just over the river in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So we're trying to expand our reach. So we've gone from kind of three big productions to, I think I just named six things, I think,
Yeah.
to just really help fill out the season and give people more opportunities to experience what might be the best fit for them. Some people don't feel comfortable coming to the big Orpheum and doing grand opera, and some people just want that experience. So, yeah.
Are younger generations discovering opera?
They are. And I think it's the biggest question and the repeated question in the opera world today is how to help them do that and how to reach
Yeah.
them. The Opera America conference that takes place every year. This year it'll be in Wilmington, Delaware in May. There's always seems to be a focus in discussions from all the members. Most companies in the United States are member companies of Opera America, and we get together and try to figure this out. But I think what's interesting is that, there are certain audiences that they're more interested in what's relevant to them now. And so they may not be as impressed with a Tosca, but they might be more impressed with something or kind of like curious about something that is an interpretation of a more recent event, which is where American opera. and things that are being written right now by living composers can kind of have an inroad with newer audiences. And I'm saying this as if I know, but I think the big question, maybe for all kinds of businesses and not only the arts, is like, are we reaching people? How are we doing it? Do we really know what they want? And I think that's always shifting. That's my guess.
Um, yeah, well, I'm curious about that because I wonder. See, I see a connection between the kind of stadium concerts that young people go to, like the big events, big
Yeah.
extravaganza events with lots
Yeah.
of, and there is, maybe I'm
Taylor Swift,
stretching
for
it, but there's
example.
a connection to opera, which is also kind of an extravaganza event. Here's a story told in with lots of gestures that draw people into some kind of passionate drama, whatever that may be, that makes them feel a part of it, and that's what they feel at a rock concert.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if they're making that connection between those two.
Well, I don't feel like I have the authority to say, but maybe, right? I think that, I mean,
Well, let me ask you it this way. Are you having conversations with people like yourself, people who are creating, I mean, producing the operas around the country? Are they talking about that sort of thing?
yeah, I mean, I think there's always talk about well, it's not only talk, but there are studies being done. Opera America just put out a study about, who is coming to the opera, what are they thinking, what's bringing them in, and they just even sent out an email, I think yesterday, about their correction from their studies, like, oh, we misstated something. But anyway, yeah, I think we're talking about it all the time because the more we hopefully understand about what people are experiencing, what connections they're making, the more likely we are to get them in the door. Um, I think a lot of, sometimes you have like this doomsday outlook from folks where they are saying, opera is dying, our audiences are getting older and they're, leaving this earth, and what are we going to have left? And I mean, there is something to that. But I think the audience continues to regenerate. And
Mhm.
maybe the arts in general, like the classical arts, are attended by people of a certain age more typically simply because people are at a point in their life where they're able to go and experience those things more
Mhm.
easily. There is also often the misinformation with folks that it costs a lot, but actually going to the opera costs way less than going to a sporting event. It costs about the same amount as going to a movie if you get the entry levels, ticketing
Yeah.
prices. Um, I don't know where my thread was going, but like that said,
Well,
yeah, go ahead, please.
my interest
Yeah.
sparked by Jennifer
Yes.
Davidson, for everybody
Yes.
who was on the podcast, has been on twice. My interest is in how how do I describe it? My interest is in wondering the circle that I live in, circle of relationships, which is vast. Um, to what extent do they have an appreciation for opera? So that's my starting point. And what I want to be able to do is encourage them to discover an interest in it and become engaged with it. That's what
Mhm.
my real interest is. That's why I wanted to talk with you because I'd like to champion that form of music because it is unique. To me, it is unique.
Mhm.
Um, it's not like watching a television show. It's not like going to the movies.
Right.
It's not even like a Broadway show.
Well, it's
Um,
the closest to that, but
it's
yeah, a
the
little different.
closest, but it's still there's something different about it.
Mhm.
And
I think it's the training and the requirement, the quality of the singing. It's like the singing is like you could compare it to a gold medalist in gymnastics, right? It's the highest level of training that you can do. Um, at least in Western music in my mind, for your voice. Like there's, you never stop training. You know, a gymnast is always training and working with their coach, and it's the same for an operatic vocalist. And so that I think is kind of what defines it in some ways from musical theater. Not to minimize the work that those folks are doing. They are also always training. It's a different style of singing, though, and there's more breadth and um, facility that is required of an opera singer, agility, etc. So that for me is a big defining factor. Although in a lot of ways, musical theater, American musical theater and American opera are kind of like they're getting close to one another. We have
Oh,
people who are writing musicals right now, and some people who are writing operas, and it's not terribly different. Um,
it,
and it's kind of how you define it.
which one is accommodating to the other one more?
I don't know. I don't know if you could say that one is accommodating to the other. I mean,
I'm just curious.
I don't think that, I don't think, I don't know, someone else might have a different opinion. I don't really think one's accommodating to the other. I think that they're both developing side by side. And, you know, we live in a small world and we're telling stories in the English language and many of them American stories from two styles, you
Yeah.
know, two different styles, and they're running side by side, and it's just, you know, familiarity with one another's maybe bringing things closer. But I mean, if you're telling a story and you're singing it and it's in English, um, eventually maybe the stories are not so different. You know, there is Little Women the opera and Little Women the musical, for example. There's just, um,
But they're treated differently, aren't they?
yeah. And I mean, you know, if you go for like, it's really funny because when I was in music history back in the day in undergrad and grad school, there were like these definitions. What defines an opera? What defines a musical? What defines an oratorio, etc. And, you know, generally we're like, well, in an opera, everything is sung. But then that's actually not the case in some operas, like Singspiels, like Mozart's The Magic Flute. There's dialogue. And there's dialogue in a lot of other operas as well. I mean, Fidelio comes to mind, but there's plenty of others that aren't coming to mind right away. Um, so then we're like, okay, well then how is it different from a musical? Because that was supposed to be the definition. An American musical has like dialogue and then songs thrown in, but then there are operas that also have that. So in the end, I think some of it really does come down to the vocal stylings, to the difficulty, the tessitura, the way in which a person is expected to sing the music, which would be more of a classical sound versus a musical theater blend or belt. Um, yeah, but the lines are sometimes not so clear, and that's interesting to have blurred lines.
Do you have a particular type of opera that you really love singing over against something else? Do you have a favorite that you that
Um, You know, I don't have a favorite opera, and I'm often asked that, like, what's your favorite opera? And when I was singing really much more often, which now it's just from time to time I sing when I'm able, but my favorite opera was always the one I was working on,
ah,
because I would just, you know, eventually, even the early days, maybe I'd be like, "Ugh, I don't know about this piece," but then once I'd really be digging into it, it would just kind of take over. But that said, there are some things that are harder for me to fully grasp, or at least as someone who was singing and learning, like there's new and modern music, but there's all kinds of new and modern music, and some of it would be so difficult to learn that it would be harder for me to kind of accept it. You know,
yeah.
initially I would have a harder time because I was struggling to learn it. Some of it is very, very difficult. Um, But even those pieces, once you really get into them, they start to kind of, you know, you start to soak them up like a sponge eventually. Um,
Well,
yeah.
you adapt to the music, and the music adapts to you in that sense, and you own it, and it becomes something which, well, it's like if you watch, 10 different concert pianists, and they all are playing Rachmaninoff's the second or third concerto, you can see the difference between them all. They all have their own, I don't know what I don't want to call it a style. It's not a style, but there's something their own kind of
Their artistic individuality.
treatment,
They're
I
not all
guess.
going to play they're not going to do a diminuendo the same way. They're not going to phrase something in the same way. They maybe have, one pianist has bigger hands than another and their reach is slightly different. And I mean, I'm speaking about this as if I know pianists all that well. I work with them all the time, but don't you ask me to play something. I had to take piano and I was happy to take piano in order to be a vocalist, but I never put in the time that I could have and should have to actually be able to accompany me myself. So I play piano well enough to learn my music. So I'm speaking about pianists as if I really understand what they can do. Um, I only
You
understand as an
you
observer and a coworker.
you understand it at your level, and
Yeah.
that's a higher level than it would be for me, who doesn't play any instrument. I don't have hands for anything. Maybe typing is about the best I can do. But I find opera fascinating because it is a storytelling art, and um, and and I think the stories. Correct me if I'm wrong. The stories are often written as commentaries on the society in which they are written. Am I right about that?
I mean, I think a lot of the time that's true. Certainly, I mean, I'm thinking about Susanna, yes, so it can be a commentary on the society that the composer and librettist were living in at the time, even if they're telling an historical story. Many of the pieces written in the classical period or Baroque period were about, you know, much earlier events. Still, I am sure that those artists' life experiences were informing the way that they were telling an age-old story. Um, Susanna Carlisle Floyd's opera that we are doing right now is was written in 1955 or premiered in 1955 and is really relevant today. Um, and almost disturbingly so because it really focuses on the idea of people and what they do when they come together in a mob mentality and go after someone who, in the case of this story, is quite innocent and unassuming, but they believe something about her that's not true, um, and they really become quite vicious. Um, and I
Hmm.
think we're living with that right now.
Yeah.
And I think we've always lived with that. I think that's the nature of humanity and the ego and um, a, a way in which people try to find a sense of belonging that can kind of turn on its head and become dangerous. Um, so yeah, it's really interesting to be working on this piece, and it's so beautiful, and I hope a lot of people come to see it. But
And
it's not easy.
when will you be performing this opera?
The performances are January 30th and February 1st here in Omaha, and we have really amazing singers in it. Caitlin Lynch, who I've known since we were young artists together at at the Glimmerglass Festival in 2007. She is singing our Susanna. She is a stellar artist and human and has sung at the Metropolitan Opera in leading roles. Andrew Potter is our Blitch, and Blitch is the Reverend who kind of comes to town and stirs everything up. And it's all based in a a very small southern community in the mountains of Tennessee that's highly strictly religious, and everyone kind of thinks Susanna is inappropriate and has done something wrong, and she hasn't. So that's where that mob mentality turns on her. But our Reverend Blitch is, like I said, Andrew Potter, and he's not only a fabulous artist, but he's super imposing at 6 foot 10 inches tall. So,
Oh my,
to have him be this
perfect.
kind of religious leader that kind of turns everyone in the wrong.
An imposing figure.
Yeah. Um, and then we have Rob Staley is Sam, who is Susanna's brother, fabulous artist. And Christian Sanders is the friend. His name is Little Bat, and he's just solid. It's a really great cast, and our local chorus and actors are all wonderful. So yeah.
It sounds exciting.
Yeah. And meanwhile, out in Philly, the other group that I run, East Passyunk Opera Project, we've uh we've been going for about, I think we just marked 6 years. And our that arts organization is more, we're not doing fully staged big operas. It's more of a neighborhood friendly, on the ground concerts and events that help to bring people close to opera, um, either for free or at a very low price point. And so we're preparing for a performance in March of a show we have done a few times called The Wondrous World of Opera. And it's intended for children, but very young children, like toddler age, from like 2 to 7 or 8. And that was something that a local supporter and friend, brought to us. She was like, I have this toddler. She loves it when you guys do concerts, and she's always mesmerized. What is there for really little kids? And there's not much. So we decided that one of the things ePOP would do is create shows for wee little ones. And so we're preparing for that March 1st, another iteration of our Wondrous World of Opera show.
Has
So,
this production for the toddler, has this ever been recorded and posted to YouTube? Mhm.
no, we haven't posted to YouTube, but we have done some recordings. We've mostly just take photos. There's a lot around making sure that parents are feeling that they have choices around whether or not their children's likeness is ending up
Ah,
online or photos. So, but we have, when we've been granted that permission by parents, we take photos, we put those up. We've taken some videos to use to show what it's all about. Yeah,
yeah,
but hopefully
I
this next
understand.
time, it is a whole matter of kind of getting permission from parents, but we might be looking at trying to make a video of it soon. So.
What happened to your world during the COVID years? Did was that a trial, or was it just another time of adaptation to the world as it is?
Um, I think it was both. I mean, certainly a trial initially for a lot of arts works. Many of them folded. At the time that COVID hit, I was singing. I was off in Montana doing a performance of Kiss Me Kate, a musical at
Hmm.
an opera company. So that's another thing. Oftentimes, opera companies will perform mu American musicals because they're, some of them are, like I said, not too different from operatic singing, and they might hire opera singers to do the musicals. But in any case, I was off in Montana performing in Kiss Me Kate when things started going down, and I got back into Philly a few weeks before the world shut down. And I was working for the artist management agency, um, who are also my managers. And Friday the 13th, I believe that was March 13th, we just started seeing cancellations. Like all these opera, it just started becoming, that's where it was really suddenly everyone was like, oh, this is for real. We have to stop being like normal humans running around and doing things. We have to shutter ourselves inside. And um, our agency just started getting endless emails from opera companies saying we're canceling our show, we're canceling our show. And so we were having to disseminate that to all of our artists. Our agency had right around 100 artists that we managed at that time. So people were losing work left and right. And artists don't, in the US especially, do not have a safety net. They get paid when they sing. They get paid at the performance. So if they've been preparing for 6 months to learn the role of Lucia di Lammermoor, which is like one of the hardest soprano roles in the repertoire, and they've been spending money on vocal coachings and voice lessons and spending 6 months getting the role in their voice, then they get to the opera company and they rehearse for 3 or 4 weeks, and then they get paid on opening night. They got nothing. Even if it was like opening night was going to be that night or the next weekend, they got no money for the most part. A few opera companies Opera Omaha was one of them, paid out artists, even though they canceled. But most companies didn't have the money to do that. So it was rather devastating. And some artist management agencies closed, some companies closed, some singers left the business altogether. So, yeah.
So is there sort of a recovery taking place now?
Yeah, there is. There's been a shift. There were those folks who just left the industry and went on and they took their excellent skills into other industries, which I think opera singers make really great business people in some ways because they're very good at being up, standing in front of crowds and doing presentations and speaking well, et cetera. So, um, but there were a lot of people and companies who were nimble and found ways to kind of adjust, just like so many other businesses and individuals did. Certain companies like Atlanta Opera and the Dallas Opera and others found ways to get online, do content online. Atlanta Opera was really innovative in finding ways. Once we got through those first, maybe that first 9 months to a year of COVID, they found ways to do performances for people. With using kind of like protective barriers, like plexiglass barriers, and having performers wearing masks and things. And many companies were doing that, or finding ways to do things similar to that so that they could reach audiences still. And ePOP, East Passyunk Opera Project, we started December of 2019. We had our first concert. It was a house concert, just of opera music and musical theater. And then COVID happened, and 6 months later, we were speaking with some friends in the neighborhood who said, "Okay, it's looking like we're comfortable enough to maybe have concerts outside with a distance and people wearing masks." And so ePOP came back, and we did our first outdoor concert, and that's really when we started getting going is through COVID by finding ways to do outdoor pop-up concerts, online events. That's kind of our history of our little work. So, yeah.
Great. It's a great story. It's a great tribute to your leadership.
Oh, thanks. Really a lot of people just kind of coming together and saying, we need to get out. We need to see some music. We need to get out of our houses, and it benefited us to put in the
Well,
effort and
I'm assuming you said, okay, we'll go do this. And that's
yeah.
kind of what leaders do. They say, okay, we're going to follow what our people say they want to do, and so we're going to figure out a way to do it. And that
I won't take all the credit. As a matter of fact, I won't take most of it because it was my husband, who is also a born leader, who is like encouraging me. And he is also our strategic advisor for ePOP, and for good reason. He's the one that's like, you could do this.
Yeah, well,
He's
that's
encouraging.
exactly what I mean. That's
Yeah.
I'm a leadership guy, and that's what I
Yeah.
see in the best organization is that there's one person who they is the titular head, the leader.
Mm.
But the best ones, what they really do are saying, okay, you all know what you need to do, go do it, and just make sure you keep in touch with me so I know what you're doing and I can be a voice of support for you. I mean, and it
Yeah.
sounds like that's what you all were able to do.
Yeah, I suppose so. We figured something out, and we're still doing it. Yeah.
So there'll be people watching this who probably have never heard or watched an opera before.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to them? How do you how do you speak to them so that they will say, "Hmm, I think I'll go try that." What's your standard kind of pitch to the uninitiated and maybe only marginally curious person who,
Mm.
opera? Oh, you mean women screeching? That's
We
the
hope not.
no, but that's the perception.
Sure.
It comes through,
I don't know if I have a standard pitch. I mean, it just varies. But what came to mind right now as you were speaking is that, for most people, if you're riding in your car or in your house and it's just you, and maybe you have the radio on or like your favorite music, There might be a song that you just like it gets you in the feels and you just really love it. You turn up the music, maybe you sing along, and it's the kind of piece that like kind of sends a little bit of a electrical current through you. Maybe you just feel it. And then imagine that walking into a theater and having that experience for a couple of hours, or having that maybe not the whole time, that might be exhausting, but that you're in a theater experiencing a show, and then there's a point in the music where that happens for you, and then maybe it happens again a little later. I mean, that's the musical side of opera, but it's also that it's telling a story, as many songs that really kind of get to us do, right? It might be a 2 or 3 minute song, but it is telling a story. That's what opera is. Why I think it's a 400-year-old art form that continues to grow and bring people in is because it it does that thing where it just kind of takes you out of the now and whatever your stuff is and lets you experience a human emotion, a human experience, and it wraps you up like you're like your favorite Netflix show might, but it's more all encompassing than that because I mean, listen, TV and movies these days, it's pretty amazing, but you're getting more because you're hearing a full orchestra envelop you, human sound enveloping you without the use of microphones. So you're just hearing that sound unamplified and getting it into your ears the way that like it's being organically made. And it's different and it's special and it's a story that you can get locked into, and you don't have to worry if it's in a foreign language, because if it is, even if it's in English, there are titles above the stage. So like if you're watching a foreign film or even many TV shows, this I was watching Emily in Paris, and of course they're speaking in multiple languages in Emily in Paris, and of course the titles come up when you need them. Same for an opera. You're never going to be lost from what's going on in the story because if you want to watch the titles, they're just on a screen above the stage. So yeah,
My advice, I mean, I'm giving you, not giving you my advice, I'm giving our audience advice,
I want to hear it.
is to go search for opera on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And for example, and and I'm trying to remember precisely the details, but this is something I watched last year, and it was a production of Tosca,
Hmm.
and I think it was from Milan.
Okay.
And the technology that they applied to this thing
Yeah.
was incredible.
Yes.
There was this globe that was it was a globe of clouds that hung over the stage,
Hmm.
and there were things that were, as the story, it would change in ways that were, how are they doing this? How
Yeah.
is that happening?
Yeah.
And it brought you into that story because what it did was it heightened the drama
Hmm.
and the tension, and it was phenomenal. And
But that's live
it was
theater.
phenomenal. I mean, I would say that it was better than any concert from a technical standpoint. It was better than any concert that I'd ever seen,
Hmm.
and it was better than any television show or movie I had ever seen.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, that's how remarkable it was. And I think it's Milan. Uh,
Hmm.
um,
Maybe La Scala.
yeah, I think it was a little Scala production, and
Okay.
it was just. And I say, I want more of that. That's what I want more of because um, this the technology was equal to the singers.
Yeah.
That's the way I saw it.
I like that. And there's with more technological advances, we're seeing so much more projection work in opera. So that can make, it's very expensive to build a new set for an opera. It can be, a couple $100,000 alone. I mean, producing an opera is, can be close to $1 million.
Right.
And I just
I'm
told you
sure.
not too long ago, we do two performances here. So you can imagine that opera companies do not pay for their operas by ticket sales alone. Oftentimes, that only covers anywhere from 10 to 20% of an overall cost of an opera company and producing shows. But that said, things like projections and high quality projections with multiple projectors, etc., mean that you can do a whole lot more, and sometimes with less in terms of building scenery. You can create whole new worlds with a singular backdrop, or maybe there's a show that we're going to be doing next year that has really advanced projections, and we have one set, but the set completely changes, and it looks like you're in a new
I
place
love that.
with the projections alone. So it's pretty cool. Um, then you need a different kind of specialist, and you go down that rabbit hole. But it's really cool what's possible on stage. And again, seeing it in person is kind of being able to experience it online is wonderful. Being in the theater is like nothing else, though, in my opinion.
I think what we're saying, it,
Mhm.
this is this is the pitch that I'm creating this pitch.
Okay, great. Write it down. Oh, it'll be recorded.
The opera is now where all the different forms of storytelling come together in one place.
The Gesamtkunstwerk. So that was you've just yes, you have said something that it has been said before, but I love that you arrived to it just right now and that we were doing that together because Wagner had this word, the Gesamtkunstwerk, the complete artistic work. And that's what he saw opera as. And when he worked on his operas, he wanted a hand in all elements of the opera, the scenic, the costumes, the dance, because there's often dance involved, music, etc. So that's that sense. So that opera is, it really is. It's a kind of a multi-art form, really. There is the singing, and that's what defines it specifically as opera and the style of singing. But I mean, one of the most amazing things I've ever been a part of, and I encourage you to go look at this on YouTube, is the opera Akhenaten by Philip Glass that was at the Metropolitan Opera, and I got to take part in that. Akhenaten is spelled, oh boy, I might spell it wrong right now. I think Akhnaten, based on the Egyptian pharaoh.
Mhm.
And we had jugglers in that opera, the most like high level jugglers I think that exist. And it would you would think an opera about an Egyptian pharaoh with jugglers, but you
Of course.
you have to see it. But there are videos about not at least kind of promotional videos, a couple minutes long, where you can see the how they were integrated and took part in the story, and it was insane. And I think it's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And we sold out at the Met, which is kind of unheard of, that they sold out the first time around, and then they sold out a revival of the show. And yeah, it's really special.
Well, if I can find a clip, I may add this in, add a clip from both of those operas into
Oh yeah.
our video today, because um, it's important for people to actually experience not just two people talking to each other, but actually
Yeah.
seeing the thing that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad to know you. I
Yeah.
wish you continued success in what you're doing.
Thanks. You
Um,
too.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to come to Omaha and see an opera with you.
I tell you, if you do, you have to let me know. We'll get you a nice seat.
I'm sure you will, and I'll do my best to figure that out. And I'm grateful for the time you've given to me today, and we celebrate the world of opera to the world, and um, to my audience. Um, you know, if you've never seen anything like this, it's worth trying.
Mhm.
Allow yourself to be moved by performance and story, and shall we call it pageantry? Is that a good word for this?
There is some pageantry depending on, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that
So
can be there too.
I think that if you're stuck in front of your TV all the time, you're never going to have the experience of what opera offers to you unless you get out there and you go find it somewhere. So I encourage you to do
Yeah.
that. And Katrina, thank you for being with us. And we will see you next time here on the Eddie Network podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. It was my pleasure.
So, what I need
Mhm.
from you is whatever you would like for me to put in the show notes.
Okay.
and I put no boundaries on that. I would only caution, the kind of contact information, phone numbers and things like that. I often will put email, but if people can find you through your website, that's probably the best way to do it. And then a picture,
Okay.
and I'm let me get to
Should
where.
I, do you want me to drop? Well, I think I just have the email from you and I can send that
Yeah,
all
you can
there.
just email it to me, and I'm looking at. Um, I'm going to post this on the 19th of June this month.
Okay.
So, um, and that'll be before your performance of Susanna.
It will be.
And maybe if it's not sold out, maybe it'll become sold out.
Hey. All right. That sounds good. I think what I'll do is I can share my personal website for Opera Omaha and the website for ePOP. I'll
Yep.
send you my headshot, and that'll cover
Yeah.
much everything I've talked about, I think.
And any bio that you want to add beyond that, that's fine. That's what
Okay.
people usually do. I mean, but it
Okay.
really it kind of covers the gamut. But so, and the last thing I want to ask you is for you to introduce me to other opera people that I can interview.
Mm,
Because what I want to do is I've started a playlist, and right now Jennifer's the only one on the playlist. Now you're
yeah.
going to be on my opera playlist, the Eddie Network opera playlist.
Yeah.
And I started something similar a year, or is it 2 years ago, um, with poetry. So I was
Okay.
interviewing poets because
Oh, cool.
so many of the people that look at this stuff are business people, and they're disconnected from the arts world, and I want to expose them to things that will enhance their life, and so
That makes me think, just you talk about business people and being disconnected. So I'd love to connect you to a lot of opera people, but maybe a certain type of connection that could be beneficial are board members who are in the business world, but serve on the board of an opera company.
that'd be
Um,
great.
so that comes to mind. Our board chair here in Omaha is not your typical what you would think of opera goer in that she is. I put her in her. I think she's in her 30s. She's works at Union Pacific and a higher level job, and is just like a go-getter. And if she has time in her life, it might be interesting to hear because her experience coming
Yeah.
from the business world and what brought her to opera and why she wanted to lead a board. And then, of course, there's other people that would happily try to connect you to that do jobs like me or singers, etc. So,
Is Berkshire Hathaway one of your supporters?
yes. Yeah, we're connected to Berkshire, but I think I should be able to rattle this off. You can tell I'm not in development, but some, of course, bigger ones are like Mutual of Omaha, and
Yeah,
I should be able to remember our seasons supporters right off the top of my head. But again, I'm director of artistic,
right.
not
You're
of
not the
development.
developer, right?
But yeah, definitely there's connections with Berkshire Hathaway, and yeah, yeah.
And when was Opera Omaha started?
N- I can tell you, let me try to do the math. In the 28 season, we're going to be hitting our
Huh.
70th anniversary. So we're
So
almost 7 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
What is
you
that?
were
I'm not going to try to
that would have been 1958.
yeah, yeah, that sounds right. And do you know the last time we did Carlisle Floyd's opera Susanna that we're rehearsing right now, Carlisle Floyd directed it, so that was cool.
Wow,
But our
no
first
kidding.
season we did a Lucia de Lammermoor and a musical and something else. But yeah, the company has grown significantly since then. Um, yeah.
I used to live in Jackson Hole, and
Okay.
we would get um during the winter months we would have at the Arts Center they would show um videos of opera, and it was some company that was um, playing opera in movie theaters.
Oh, probably the Met,
Yes,
depending on how long ago it
it was.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it typically was on a Sunday afternoon,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that I forget what I
Saturday.
went and saw. I think I went and saw uh, uh, Madame Butterfly,
Hmm.
exquisite.
Yeah.
But I drive to um, I live in North Carolina. I drive out there. I drove went to Wyoming twice last year,
Okay.
and so I'm on the road, and there have been times when I've listened to the entire ring cycle on one
Oh,
day
my.
of driving, and it's quite interesting to hear it all as one thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever sung Wagner?
No, there's not a lot in his repertoire for me that's appropriate, but there's like I think the role of Voglinde in Rhine, the Rhine Maids. So in
Mhm.
Rheingold, wherever the Rhine Maids appear, there's a couple of spots I might have been able to sing something, but no, I haven't done Wagner specifically.
The I mentioned the Berlin Philharmonic channel. They do a lot of concert performances of operas, and they did. I don't know. I forget who was the conductor of them, but they did all the Wagner Ring Cycle and the I'm blanking on. I'm not specific enough on it, but the Rhine Maidens version that scene was just amazing.
Mhm.
These women were just amazing in the way they could capture the the drama of this in a concert setting.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I may turn that on this afternoon and watch it again. So,
Okay.
well, thank you very much, and.